Episode 20, college football season coming into focus as I, Dan Mathews, and he, the animal, Matt Maltepes of Dan Mathews and the Animals, get you set up for the rest of the college football season. This is a recap, but also, too, Matt, this is when the college football season really gets going because later tonight, Halloween, this being it, we both failed, by the way, not wearing costumes. I guess we could say I'm Brian Kelly. I mean, I've got a Brian Kelly shirt, him doing the gritty. So maybe that's it. Maybe I should have put on a blonde wig and a visor. Although with kind of my double chin, I would probably look a little bit more like someone else. I'm not going to name names here, but anyway, it is a Halloween edition of Dan Mathews and the Animals. Boy, it was a profitable weekend. If you followed this show on Friday, which we got going a little bit later just because of scheduling conflicts, everything of the sort. But Matt, I mean, we gave out some winners and then some in the last episode, did we not?
Oh, we gave it a lot. I mean, Georgia game, Oklahoma game, Tennessee, Utah. I mean, I'm ready to go through it and tell you guys exactly what how the games played out. And I'm just hoping you guys took all those winners because you guys are bathing in money.
That's it, especially this weekend. All right, so let's start first with Georgia and Florida. This was a game that, I mean, I more than anything, I took the suckers play on this, if you will. I did the, come on, Georgia is due, all of those different types of things. I did the square thing, but I was rewarded. And I think most of the public probably was for this one because Georgia, by far their best offensive performance of the season against a really good opponent. In this case, they had a really good one against Kentucky, and this one against a 5-2 Florida team. It was domination from the beginning. I don't think there was ever a part in this game, Matt, where I looked at it and said, maybe Florida, maybe they got a chance. I mean, I guess that first drive, possibly, but aside from that, it was Georgia domination and Kirby Smart's team taking care of business. That 14.5, cha-ching, got it. Georgia wins this one 43-20. I know that you were kind of a little uneasy about this game, but how did it shape up for you? Did you feel better about it once we got to Saturday?
So, I started looking on it, and I started leaning Georgia here. And obviously they won 43-20, then won more than convincingly. I mean, they just flat out beat the Gators. It was that simple. They beat them. 23 first downs to 16, 490 yards to Florida's 340. I mean, Carson Beck threw for 315 passing yards and 12 yards per completion. They also did their damage on the ground, running for over 175 in the Gators defense. And then they dominated on the time of possession battle. Florida did have a turnover on downs, a fumble, and a safety. So that sure didn't help Florida's cause. But regardless, this Florida team was simply outmatched, and that spread of 14 wasn't close enough. 14.5 didn't matter what you took. You can cash that ticket on the Georgia Bulldogs, man.
Yeah, absolutely. As Georgia able to win this one convincingly. I'm assuming we'll probably be talking about them on Thursday, too, as well, as they've got another big game coming up this week. Mizzou coming to Athens, a Mizzou team that I think a lot of people didn't necessarily see being as good as they are right now, but that is going to be a fun one to keep an eye on, and I'm assuming we probably will be breaking that down on Thursday. Let's move on to the next one, Oklahoma and Kansas, the surprise game of the weekend, as this was one. You love the over in this one. The over hits as the over was 66. They end up finishing at 71 with the final being KU 38-33. This is where I give myself a little pat on the back here. Just a little bit. Because do we give a shout out here? I mean, it's up to you. This is your channel in earnest here, Matt. Do I give a shout out to where I got this, or do I keep the information myself? Your call.
Hey, that's all on you, man. That's all on you.
All right. So because it is free information, there's a Twitter account called Odds and Picks, and they do a really good job of breaking down where's the money. And, there's a difference between the amount of bets, because I think a lot of people sometimes look at it, and Matt, jump in on this if I'm a little off here. They look at it and say, oh, well, the bets are on this, so that's the smart play there. I always say the traditional saying, follow the money. The money line for this one, the bets were 13%, if I'm not mistaken, when I put mine in on Kansas to get the money line, win the game outright. But the money was like 88% or something like that. So what is that telling you? That's telling you the sharps were very much on KU. I think mostly because of the value was like plus 245. So if you put $10 on it, you more than doubled your money in that regard. And in this case right here, I mean, we're all sweating it out. Everybody's sweating it out. You got the weather delay. The place I'm at, the manager is telling us because, I'm saying, hey, flip it over to FS1. No, the game is over. It's not over. I leaned back in my chair and I said, it's on right there. Put the game on. This one's down to the wire. Soon enough, he relented. He put the game on, got to see the end of it. And boy, what a hell of a finish it was with KU knocking off the Oklahoma Sooners.
Yeah, it was a case of the pros versus the Joes in this one. Yeah, we had some technical difficulties last episode, but I still told you guys to bet the over 65. And if you did, you cashed. Final score 33-38 puts us over the total and gets Kansas to win. Just like you talked about, Dan. Kansas toe for toe with this Oklahoma team that has been unstoppable this far, like all year long. They've been one of the best teams against the spread and one of the best teams in margin of victory. And then we saw them take down Texas, which was big. The Jayhawks came in. They had 6 more first downs. Wow. They held this Oklahoma team to 2 of 10 on third down. That's big. Both teams racked up the same amount of yards, almost at 440 apiece. And both teams, they dominate each other on the ground game, running for over 220 yards each. Both teams turned over the ball 3 times. Pretty even so far. Bunch of turnover on downs, interceptions, fumbles, missed field goals. But at the end of the day, this was one of those games that was ended up being, coming down to the wire. One of those games that at the end, Kansas pulled this one off, last scoring drive, with only 40 seconds to spare. And I got to give credit to Oklahoma. They got to the Kansas 20, but that was as far as they can go in those 40 seconds.
Yeah, as you had the quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, throwing off his back foot there. Anytime a quarterback's throwing off his back foot, that's going to be a recipe for disaster. It was. Kansas player able to, at the very least, keep the football away from receivers as he caught it out of bounds. Doesn't matter. Game is over. KU wins. Rock Chalk Jayhawk fans rushing the field for a huge win in that one. Now the Big 12 is wide open for who is going to find their way to Arlington for the Big 12 championship in early December. That is going to be a lot of fun to keep an eye on. Let's move it right along. Tennessee and Kentucky. This was another cha-ching for us in this one. Now, you had said if Tennessee gets down to 3, you really like Tennessee. Well, in this case, you would have been doubled up because it got down to 4. I took it on Saturday at 4 Tennessee, and both of us were rewarded in that regard because the Vols able to win this one by 6. 33-27 on the road over Kentucky, as this is a Tennessee team. I mean, we're going to talk about, like I said, that Georgia-Missouri game. That's going to be one to keep an eye on. But that Tennessee-Georgia game is now looking more and more juicy, especially if the Dogs are able to hold on and take down Luther Burden and the crew from Mizzou this week in Athens. That one's going to be a noon Eastern kick for that one. But all of a sudden, we're looking at a battle for the SEC East at that point, if indeed that happens, between Tennessee and Mizzou. For this one, I mean, I think I know where you're going to go with this one in terms of breaking it down, but another win.
Yeah, the Volunteers won this game 33-27. They covered the number and they cashed that ticket. So another one, as DJ Cali says. This game was a pretty good one, very evenly matched. As far as the metrics go, both teams, I mean, with 24 first downs, Tennessee had 480 total yards compared to Kentucky's 440. Kentucky threw for 370 through the air, which is, pretty damn well. But Tennessee put up a monster display on the ground game, rushing for over 250 rushing yards. Both teams were right around the same at 45, 46% on third down. But the big difference was on fourth down. The Wildcats, I don't want to say they got a bit greedy, but they did. They wanted to go for it twice on fourth down, and they bit the bullet both times. Tennessee came up with 2 huge stops, and there was also a missed field goal by the Wildcats, but it was pretty lengthy, 1 of 53 yards. So Tennessee came out as victors, and so did you if you grabbed that -3 ticket.
You damn right you did, and it was a great weekend continued in that regard. Matt, my lone blemish, I had gone plus the points with Utah in this one. It was a 6.5 point spread for the Ducks and for the Utes in this one. I thought maybe it being in Salt Lake City, it was a chance to make this one ugly. It was a chance to slow this one down. But obviously, Bo Nix and the company for Oregon had different ideas because the offense was on full display, and the Ducks absolutely crushed this one. But I was a loser. You were a winner because you went a different route with this one.
Yeah, I stood off the side here. I was scared of Utah's their competition on the defensive end, and Oregon has a pretty damn good defense. But no, the whole thing was I love the under here. I told you guys on the last episode, I came on the show and told you that I buried a game and that I went big on, and it was the under here. We went under 48, and every time I've come on the show, I've said, look, we're going big on this game, or we got to bury on this game. We've cashed a lot more tickets than not, so just a heads up. This is one of those times. It was a big winner for all the games I recap in this episode. None of them had both teams gain less than 20 first downs, except for this one. I mean, Oregon had 18 while Utah had 13 only first downs. There wasn't much to be wowed at in the yards per play metric for either team. The only thing to point out there was that Utah struggled mightily in the yards per play metric. I told you guys in the last show, Utah's not faced any great defenses, and the fact that they put up 30-plus points on USC's defense was more of a testament to how bad that USC defense is. Oregon's defense, that's a real defense right there. It's a shame because this Utah team, they're a very, very good team, but they just don't have a quarterback with Cam Rising out. And I just hope you guys really listen to bury this under and want some big cash, because nothing gives me more joy than helping you guys out.
No doubt about it. I mean, it's nothing to cough at, nothing to sneeze at, nothing to any of those things. I was getting a little choked up, just thinking about the great weekend that we had. So maybe we're catching our stride here. Maybe that's one of those things. I mean, we've talked about it before. You got to ride the wins. You got to ride the lows of the losses sometimes. But in this case right here, a very profitable week. I went 6 games in total this weekend, 5 of 6 for me on the college side. Now, luckily, we don't talk NFL on this because that would have been a very sad recap show in that regard, but that's okay.
It's a different show.
That's it. That's another show. We don't worry about that. But I mean, as I'm looking at it right here, I mean, at least in some variation along the way, a clean sweep across the board. You stayed off for the most part the Georgia-Florida game. I went Georgia in that one. We both really like Tennessee in their game. We both got that. I went with the Sharps on the Jayhawks in that one and rewarded for that one and the over hit in that one. So that's huge. And then, of course, I liked the Utes, foolishly liked the Utes, and you liked the under in that one. So a winner right there. All right. So like I said, the first college football playoff ranking is going to come out a little bit later tonight. And we will have at least that to bake into the equation for the games that are going to be coming up on this coming weekend of college football. Got a lot of really good ones. I mean, I got a hunch right now. We're going to be talking, like I said, that Georgia-Mizzou game. I got a hunch we're going to be talking that LSU and Alabama game. That's going to be a really fun one in Tuscaloosa. The Crimson Tide trying to get revenge for last year. And also, too, it's pretty much with the Crimson Tide, a win, and they pretty much locked this thing up to get to Atlanta for the SEC championship game because they'd be at 1 loss and get there and have a chance to maybe work their way into the college football playoff again against either Georgia, Tennessee, or you can't rule out Mizzou just yet as they got a real chance to get themselves squarely in this thing if they can go pull off the upset in Athens this weekend. So the college football slate is exciting. We got a lot more to come right here on Dan Mathews and the Animals. But as for episode 20, that is going to do it. Unless, do you already have an early look, sir?
I do not have an early look, but what I do want is for everyone that's watching and listening to comment their early looks and the games that they like, the plays that they like, the moves, the picks. Comment in the comments below. Make sure to always like and subscribe and let us know what you guys like.
That's it. Right down there. Throw them down there. We want to see them, no doubt about it. All right, he's Matt Maltepes. He's the animal. I'm Dan Mathews, the Dan Mathews part of Dan Mathews and the Animals. This was episode 20, episode 21 coming your way on Thursday, on time, mind you. So we got that to look forward to. Until then, like and subscribe.
Make sure to like and subscribe. And as always,
I mean, that's it. That's it. I mean, you know, people calling in as I'm doing my hit right there. Don't call me right now. All right. Jesus. What's wrong with you people? Anyway, that is episode 20, 21 coming your way next, right here. Dan Mathews and the Animals.